Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all well. Today we are doing another nervous guide to a show, this time an officer and a gentleman currently taking part on their UK tour up and down the depth and breadth of this lovely country we call the United Kingdom. So if you want to know what to expect from the show and my experience, stick around and we'll get into it in 2 whole seconds. So hello, welcome back. If you've never been here before and you don't know what a nervous guide is, basically let's give you a quick run through. I like to do 2 separate videos for each show that I see, one being a nervous guide, the second being a review. That's not really a review, it's basically just me telling my thoughts and feelings on a show and who I liked and yada yada yada. So in this video, the nervous guide, we talk about any content warnings, sensory warnings, my experience visiting a theatre, if there's anything to know about like toilets or accessibility, if I can do that kind of situation, is what goes down in this video. And then like I said, the next one will be my review. It's not a review. Ta-da! So today we are talking an officer and a gentleman. Firstly, massive programme. The theatre I went to, the Walls Grand, did not have house programmes and we could only buy the big £8 souvenir brochures. It's pretty decent as souvenir programmes go. Yes, there are a good amount of pictures inside, but there is also a good amount of information. There is an interview with the writer of the book but also of the film, and yeah, to be honest, I can't really complain. It's just the largeness of the programme. But enough on the programme, let's get into my experience and also the warnings. So let's go for my experience. Basically with this show, I decided very late, I'm doing it a lot this year and I need to get better at it, but I decided very late to come and see the show at the Walls Grand. Like we all know, I know the Walls Grand quite well, and I sat with my mother in the stalls in row N. I believe it's 32 and 33. I am indeed correct. The reason we picked those is because it's at the end of a row. If I go to the theatre with my mother, we have to be on an end of a row so that she is able to escape if needs be, because she has health issues that mean that she needs to be able to exit a room quickly if she needs to. The thing about N32 and N33, especially N32, is that it's a restricted view seat. So it is a pillar restricted seat, meaning that for the majority of the show you are greeted by a pillar in front of you. You can't remove that pillar because it does hold up the next floor up. So it's an understandable pillar, but it did mean that I spent quite a lot of my time, because I was in N32, doing either this towards my mum or this to the other side of the pillar so I could see round it. There was no one next to me, so that wasn't an issue, but there was people behind me. I did contemplate in the second act switching chairs and just moving over one, but then I didn't want to do that because the people who were sat behind me had also already moved for view reasons and I didn't want to take out their view. It wasn't like a massive problem. If I was sat and I was staring directly at the stage, and I will put my view of my seat so you have some kind of idea what I was dealing with. For the majority, I missed kind of the last third on the right hand side as you looked, which for most shows is fine. but this show uses pretty much all of the stage, so at occasions I did have to kind of do a little bit of shuffling around. In regards to toilets and such, I don't feel like I really need to discuss it much in this video because I visit and have visited the Wallsgrand a few times throughout these videos, and I don't want to be repeating myself. But if you want to ask any questions about things like that, then feel free to leave them in the comments area and I will get back to you as soon as possible. But we're going to move now on to the content and sensory warnings. So this show takes place in the 1980s in and around a training facility for naval officers. So there is obviously going to be a few discussions about fighting and about wars. There is no depiction of that, but there is something that is mentioned, so it is something to be aware of. Also in Act 2 there is a not quite depiction, but there is an act of suicide that happens off stage. You don't see anything, it's not visible, but it is implied, so again that is something to be aware of. And then sensory wise, bringing up my list, so I've got Act 1. The whole show starts with the bringing down of the house lights, and then before the curtain is raised there is a sound of a plane overtaking, like going over your head, you know, that kind of noise. It's quite loud, and it's something to be aware of. The lights are quite bright. There is use of neon lights throughout in different scenes, and again it is something to be aware of. Also in Act 1 there is a red light that happens during a training exercise that the cadets, the officers in training, are part of. There is an alarm that sounds with that red light, and the alarm is quite loud. And also there is the use of gun props at the end of Act 1 during the last song. They are visible through most of the last song. It's kind of like a parade-esque feel. People are marching, they are carrying guns. None of them are fired, but they are visible on stage. Act 2, the two main things that I wrote down are the use of flashing lights during a fight scene. There is a fight that happens in the second act between the main character, if you will, Zach Mayo, and the sergeant in charge, and during that fight there is flashing lights pretty much timed with each punch or hit that happens between the two of them, but the rest of the lighting on stage is lowered slightly, so it's kind of not dull on the stage, but it is darker on the stage, and then every time there is a hit or a punch the lights kind of flash, to assume like to keep the impact, like so you know it's happening, but again it's something to be aware of. And then the other thing that I've put down for Act 2 is that a suicide that happens during the second act. Like I said, it's not portrayed on stage. The last you see of the character before the act is him removing his belt. Then he runs off stage, and the next time you see him he is being carried back on, unconscious, by the main character of Zack, and he is brought kind of front stage, and the two characters being Zack and being Paula are trying to bring him back round and check his pulse, and there is no pulse because he has sadly passed away. The other thing to mention is the use of haze. It is used throughout the show, less hazy as in like a base layer of haze, and more of a puff of air every so often when certain things need to be highlighted or taken away quickly, but overall there is haze and it's something to be aware of. They are my main points to mention in relation to both content and of sensory side. If I've missed any and you've seen this show, as I always say, or try to say, feel free to add them in the comments area for other people. Like I always think, I try and share with you what has either upset or triggered me in these shows, but everybody is different, has different things that upset them, so if we can create a bigger, rounder picture, that'd be absolutely amazing. But there we go, that is pretty much that for this video. Like I said at the beginning, the next video you will see in a few days is the review of this show, so if you want to know my thoughts and feelings on An Officer and a Gentleman, then come back for that video. But for me right now, that is the end. I'm going to leave you alone and say thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. All that's left to say is the usual: so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen and goodbye.